Yes, everybody. Russ, the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well, if not slightly clammy. Getting clammy. And it's not because of the transfers that are coming in and out of the club. It's because of the heat wave, and it's going to get hotter and hotter. And already I feel a bit sticky. God forbid. Lunchtime, Rusty room rating, the original room rating. Over 155 players we have now been linked with. And we spoke about a few of them today, Joe Willock amongst others as well. So keep an eye on that. Go back and watch that. Let me know what you think. This morning, Anton spoke about Dinos potentially going to Roma. The Roma side who have also put a loan offer in for Evan Ferguson as well. And also spoke about the Graham Potter press conference, well, not press conference, but sort of interview after the first day of training, and talking about a clean slate and what that could mean and stuff like that. But now it is time for your Hammers headlines in association with the lovely friends over at KUMB.com. Don't forget to check them out for latest news, reviews, opinions, forums, all that good malarkey. Now, let's talk Mohamed Kudus, shall we? The fallout, I'm calling it. The fallout continues. Let's look at the time frame of everything, shall we, at the moment. Midway through last season, 99% chance he's going. That's what he said. These are his minimum release clauses, different release clauses for different clubs, whether it's a Premier League side, non-Premier League, non-Saudi side, and a Saudi side. Loads of clubs are interested in him. Loads of clubs apparently are interested in him. And then we come to yesterday, and what a difference a day makes. The club didn't announce, but announced via their outlets, we'll call them mouthpieces, call them outlets, that they have accepted a £55 million bid plus add-ons for Mohamed Kudus from Spurs. And then the world exploded. Now, I think there's been some, the narrative of the aftermath, I think, has been exaggerated. And I think people have, again, everyone's entitled to their opinions, but for me, to say he's a Judas and stuff like that, I just do not agree with. And the reason why we think he's a Judas is because apparently he handed in a transfer request. That was the news that X reported on his Patreon, which was received from a phone call from a senior source. I think we know who or a highly placed source. I think we know who that is, to get that narrative out there. And I think that's what it is, a narrative. Through my sources and my guys that I talk to quite a lot and I respect, and I usually bang on with their sort of information. It is clear that there was no such thing. That's what I've been told. I've been told not true, not true, not true. When I asked about Kudus's putting in a transfer request, not true. And I understand why, because it's a vilification, which, then the club and the fan base, which probably about 60%, 56% of the fan base seems to have gone, right, that's it, he's a Judas, and actually it's not the case, and again, it's all about narrative. It's all about how things are the news that's released, and you can believe what you want to believe, and you can disbelieve what you disbelieve. You're a human being. But for me, looking at the information, maybe from a top down rather than necessarily in the weeds, so to speak, Spurs were the only club that have put a purely cash offer in for Mohamed Kudus. Not Arsenal, not Liverpool, not Chelsea. Chelsea's player plus cash, which the club didn't want. Not the Saudi leagues. No one, apart from Spurs. So when the narrative came out that Mohamed is only talking to Tottenham, that's because they were the only fucker we put a bid in. So that was the only reason why he spoke to Tottenham. We were led to believe by the same sort of outlets that he had said to Liverpool, look, I'm here. I'll take a pay cut if you want to come to me. If you want me to come to you. But he only spoke to Spurs because they were the only club in town. I think, I mean, again, I think it was Nigel Khan and various. I think someone in the comments below spoke. What about Martin Peters? All the when he moved from West Ham to Tottenham, arguably he was a far more significant player for West Ham, part of that golden era in the mid to late 60s, academy player. Kadus, we had the best just under 2 years, really, and we had a good season and a not so good season. We are, until maybe him and Declan Rice. I mean, even Kadus to some extent, I say maybe not. We haven't sold him particularly well, but we never sell players particularly well anyway. Declan Rice, I think, was a good sell for the money we got. Kadus, not. He's one of a number of people in the Premier League who have a similar set of attributes than him. So, where Declan Rice had that, plus the England and all that type of stuff, and just added a bit more sparse to the press. I'm sure there's going to be other fallouts from this, but yeah, the information we've been given is he didn't put a transfer request in. The club were actively looking to move him on because he was a sellable asset. And in all honesty, looking at the way Potter sets up his team, he doesn't suit the way Potter plays. Now, whether you agree or disagree that we should probably buy, we should find a way for it to work, I agree. But it's happened now, so let's see what happens with that money. One player who doesn't want to leave, apparently, is Guilherme. According to reports, he is subject to a £25 million bid from Botafogo, and he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay at the club and fight for his place. And this is what I'm saying. When people say, "Oh, who are we going to bring in to replace Kadus and yada yada yada," we don't need to replace him. We have players already in the club. And if Guilherme is clever, he will see there's an opportunity to, establish himself and get more game time at West Ham in the first team squad. Every time he's come on, I've felt he's, particularly this season, real turn of pace and stuff. And for me, it was always part of the plan. Kadus was never going to be a long-term. It wasn't going to be a lifer at West Ham. So, part of this model, this conveyor belt, is the Brighton model is we sell players and then we have the next one ready. And, someone like Guilherme is the next one off the production line. That's what Tim Vickery said. No, not just us, an expert in South American football. When we had him on with Holly at the beginning of the season, that's what he said about Guilherme. I guess he's not one for now, but he's going to be one for 12 months, 18 months down the line. He's going to come in and do what Kadus was doing, and actually he can play as a 10. And that's probably his preferred position, is playing as a 10. So let's see what happens. And apparently he wants to stay. That's saying that tomorrow he probably sold. But according to reports, he wants to stay. One person who will be staying is Brooks. Is good old, where is his name? I had his name there. There is Connor Brooks, former Concord midfielder, Concord Rovers. He has signed with the academy. Potter can't get the signings in, but the academy can. Kenny Brown is cooking, having just announced the latest list of first-year scholars, as well as securing the likes of Andre Dykes to his first pro deal. Daniel Cummings coming in, Callum Leacock, Joel Kerr, and now Connor. Now, Connor is only 17, but he made his debut for Concord Rangers when he was just 16. And he'll be lining up for the under-18 squad. And I implore you this year, new season's resolution, get down to Little Heath on a Saturday morning or Rush Green on a Friday night and watch these guys play. Watch them. Because it will give you a renewed sense of optimism in terms of the future of West Ham. It really will. We have got some cracking players coming through the academy. Some very, very good players. Some very, very good players who could well be pathwaying into the first team in the next 2 years, 3 years, based on progression and stuff like that. We've got a number of them training in the first team now. I would assume in terms of pathway, I think what will happen is at the end of the pre-season, the guys who maybe are not just quite ready will go out on loan. I'm thinking the likes of Patrick Kelly and people like that, maybe Caelan Casey potentially as well. But for me, I just think there is some really positive news within the academy, which we need to really sort of take on, because That's what West Ham's all about. Is about the academy, which is why we do the academy show. The only channel out there who do a show just for the academy, and that will be starting maybe even next Monday. Really, with pre-season starting, we could talk about the new scholars and talk about the sort of a roundup of the academy news. So maybe we'll do that starting next Monday, 6 o'clock UK time. We hopefully, if not definitely, start the season. One player we may not see turn out in Claret and Blue is Harvey Elliott. Now, we know we're interested in him, but according to reports, not just West Ham, but there are at least 4 other Premier League clubs interested in the Liverpool man. With apparently Brighton surging to the top of the tree. Bookmakers make them 74 favourites to secure a play, with Newcastle next in line at 7-2 now. But Brighton they've bought and sold. Obviously, they sold Pedro to Chelsea, and they've sort of reinvested that money pretty much straight away to Costalos from Olympiacos, the young striker, and Maxime Decloupa from Club Bruges. Liverpool apparently looking for £40 million if a buyback clause is included, rising to 50 for a permanent sale. He's impressing on the 21s, spearheaded that, but limited starts at Liverpool, and I think the decision is potentially to move him on. He's not getting the game time. You got Sabosliks and several other players who are ahead of him. Gravenbergs, there's some good players there who are already in the system, and Harvey tends to be on the peripherals a little bit. And I think he's the type of player who we would really, really enjoy at West Ham. I really, really think we would. Whether we get him, another question in it. Another question. Lots of other clubs interested in him, and it's maybe these types of deals where the Potter factor might benefit. He's an English manager. He's an English player. And sometimes I don't know what he's like in and around his players in his squad or selling the club, but he talks a good game. Potter does talk a good game, and if you're trying to impress people to come in, and Elliot could be he could be that sort of spearhead for this new regime potentially. With Kadus going, still a question mark over Paqueta. Harvey could be the future, but we'll see. Anyway, my friends, thank you very much for joining us as per usual. If you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, and give it a subscribe. And don't forget to check out kneesupmamabrand.com for latest news, reviews, and opiniones. I'll see you later. See you later, motherfuckers.